So today we shall be replacing all the coolant in our Alde G13 system. We have a Bailey motorhome which is just under 2 years old, and after 2 years they say replace the fluid with the new higher spec G13 concentrated antifreeze, which will last for 5 years. This is the latest spec one. We've also bought 2 5-litre bottles of deionized water. We should have about between 10 and 12 litres in the system, so we've bought plenty. Mix the 50-50 mix together, but we should have enough there and a bit left over for my car, hopefully. We've also bought off eBay a 12-volt submersible pump. This will help flush the old system clean and put the new one in without any airlocks, any problems getting it in, because it can be quite awkward to get the old fluid out and the new one in. We've also got some adapters for the pipe work. These are old adapters I've had left over from TRV valves when I changed the valves in the house. It's about 19 to 15 mil, and the 19 mil fits nice and snug in the Alde pipes. When you take the header tank off in the motorhome, you'll see these fit nicely in, and the other end, the 15 mil end, fits nicely onto the end of your ordinary garden hose. So there you go. So then you need to remove the cover from the header tank. So this is held on by 6 screws, and just take the screws out and whip it off, and there you are with the header tank. As you can see, there's still plenty of the blue coolant in the header tank, so now we need to drain this off. So we need to find out the drain bung under the van. On the Bailey 625, the drain is actually under the step. If you can just see it, there we go, that's under the step by the doorway. So we need to take the brass bung out and let some drain away. There you go, the bung's now released and we're letting all the coolant out. There you go, it's pretty easy to do. And then go inside. Right, we're back into the little wardrobe now where the header tank is. All the fluid, or most of the fluid, is drained away, so now you can remove the header tank quite easily. Once you've taken the clips off at the bottom, just pull the header tank off. It comes off like that. We put a bit of towel down just in case we get a few spills, but nothing at all, pretty dry. Now with the reducer, the old TRV valve reducers, they fit nice and snug inside the pipes. Okay, once the clips are on, they are nice and tight. The other end we can fit to a normal garden hose. This is the flow and this one's return. Right, so now we're ready to flush. Now what we've done here is the yellow pipe goes onto the flow, and that goes into a bucket of clean water with a submersible pump. The other side, the green one, that's the return, and that will go straight to an empty bucket on the floor here. And what we'll do now, we'll flush the system through with clean water. That will get rid of the old coolant, the 2-year coolant, and replace it with clean water. So you don't need to do this apparently, according to Alde. The 2-year antifreeze coolant is compatible with the 5-year one, so it's not necessary, but I thought we'd do the job nice and we'll clear all the old stuff out first. So what we're going to do now, we've connected our pump up to a 12-volt battery. There you go. And we've got a switch here, so we'll turn it on and we'll flush the system. There you go, it's pumping through now and it's gurgling out the other end, as you can see. And now what we're getting rid of is all the old blue coolant until clean water comes through. That might take a while, I'm not sure. Okay, we're going to stop it there now. we've done one flush now and we've had to refill the bucket full of cold water again. So that's refilled. There's plenty of room left in there at the empty bucket, so here we go again. We're reflushing again now. Let's have a look. Still coming out blue water, blue coolant rather, and it should turn now, it should go to all clear water in any second. It's getting less and less blue. That's how much water we've got left in the bucket. Pumping out very well actually. Still a bit blue, almost white now, almost clear now. I think it probably is actually clear now, I think that is. Probably clear, so we'll just knock it off now. Pump off. We'll drop a little bit more water in there with a watering can. Obviously the bucket can be outside somewhere, we just put it inside so it makes it easy for me because I'm doing everything on my own. Bit more water in there, another little flush. There we go, we're on again. So what we've got coming out this time, bubble, bubble, bubble. There we go, I think that's pretty clear now, that water is. I think that's, yeah, that's clear, I think that's clear now. So we turn it off. We've placed the pump in the coolant mixture and we've got an empty bucket down here, and we will now turn the pump on and let it flow through. There you go, pump's on, pouring away, no leaks from there. We put a little bit of PTFE tape around the joints to make sure there's no leaks. And down here we'll see the water flowing out. As you can see, it's nice and clear at the moment. It should soon turn to a pinky colour, and that's when we know the coolant has gone through the system, then we can turn it off. So we'll have to wait a few minutes. So the level's light. You can hear a bit of gurgling around the system as it's going round. Yeah, that's working fine. Back down to here, still clear. Still clear. Bit of air. It's going slightly pink now, I believe. Slightly pink. So now it's going pink, so we're going to turn it off. Right, the pumps and the coolant mixture is completely empty now, just a little bit at the bottom, and we have a full tank of old coolant and water mix there. So we should now be filled it with the G13, roughly 50-50 mix. But what we'll do now, put the header tank back on and we'll top it up from the header tank. The header tank's back into position now, so what we need to do is just put the pipe clamps round, back and round. Okay, so they're both done. Then we can reposition the header tank now. I'm just putting the final screws back in. That's top one. Okay, that's it. That's the header tank remounted. So now the header tank's finally fitted back on, we've used the remainder in the bucket, the 50-50 mix, to top it up, and then we're going to finish the rest up to the mark with the concentrate. So we'll just pour the concentrate in the top just to make it up to the mark, just to make sure we have a nice strength, and then we'll put it to about the max. There we go, to there, and then now that's done. We'll put the top back on, and we shall turn the pump on and float around the system and see if we can get rid of the air. That's the header tank then filled up to the maximum mark, and now what we do, we'll put the heating on and try it. So go back to the controls, turn the heating on and set the temperature
so it's nice and high. Daytime. It's on 20 now, that'll do. I think that should be plenty. It's about 12 degrees out here, so we'll put the pump on continuous. So that's the pump, and then it's on continuous now to run. Go back. Let's go back into. Go back to the boiler. Down here is the boiler. You can just see that. And the pump is at the bottom. So we need to turn the pump up to maximum. You can hear that going up. Okay, there's a pump up to maximum now. There's one of the bleed valves there. Get the pump's a bit of a juggle. Make sure there's no trapped air in the system. I can't hear anything. Nothing at all. No, that's fine. There's the pump at the bottom, the blue one. I've got a dial on the front. You can alter the speed settings. It's normally about 2, but we set it to maximum, which is around about 5 now to get the flow through. Oh, there's a gurgle of air I just heard. That's the air going through. So we'll leave it running for a few moments and come back to the header tank. You can see the header tank, water flowing through that, is bubbling away, or it's moving around anyway, so we're getting the flow through. We'll leave that running for a little while and then we can bleed it. Now there's at least 3 bleed valves, the one I've just shown you. There's one in the toilet, there you go, on the radiator, that one there. All you have to do is open up a little bit, let the air come through. You can hear the air, and just stop then as the water or the coolant, there we go. You need to put a bit of tissue or something around the back, collect any spills. So we stuffed a bit of tissue around the side now, and then we'll just open it up again gently. As you can see there, let the air come, and there comes the water, so that's getting rid of the air on that one. With the tissue, and then we'll come back to that in a second. Go back to the boiler, which is, you can hear a good flow now going through it. So now we need to bleed this air screw. So we'll just relax that one a little bit. We'll just put a towel down there to collect any coolant. Ease it off. Yeah, there's water. That's just water coming out that one. So I don't think there's any air in there. The other one is behind the bench seat. We've found another bleed valve under the bench seat, so we've put a towel down there again, and there it is. So if we can just see that, if we just turn that a little bit again, just to release any air. No air in there at all, no, it's just coming out water. So tighten that back up, wipe away the very, very small bit of water, and move on to the next one. Back in the cupboard, the level has dropped a very slight amount as the air's been displaced with the coolant. So we'll leave that running for a little bit longer. We've put the heating on, so the radiator should start to get warm. In actual fact, this is just starting to get warm as well. So we know the heating's working okay now, it's working all right again. The coolant is circulating, we've just got to find if there's a little bit of air. We'll come back to that in a second. Back in the shower cubicle again, the bathroom, and just see if this one needs any more bleeding. Little bit, tiny little bit there, then water or coolant, not much at all. In actual fact, a lot of the gurgling has now stopped. So I think we get almost there. There you go, that's pink coolant coming out as well, which is what we want. I think that one's done now. We can actually put the cover back on that. We'll just wipe away any spillage, nice and clean, and you can feel the warmth in the radiator, so we're getting good circulation.
That's it, nice and clean, tighten it up, and then you can put the cover back on, just held on by a couple of little screws. Just tighten those screws back up, and that one's finished. We're back down at the boiler end now, where we shall leave the pump on high for a second. Let's have a look at the bleed valve on there. There we go, and just see if there's any air in that one. No air at all. Bit of a gurgling still. Leave a towel under there just to catch any surplus. Bit of a gurgling. So what we'll do now, we'll turn the pump down the front from high down to a lower setting. There we go. Take this quiet off. And what we shall do now is take this quiet off. And what we shall do now is we'll leave it for a little bit. We'll turn the pump off, turn everything off. We'll leave it to settle down, and then see if we can bleed any more air out. We'll go back to the airing cupboard, in a moment, and have a look at the header tank. The header tank level has dropped slightly as we're displacing the air, and the coolant's taking its place. So we need to top that up a little bit more, let it settle, and then we'll come back to it to see if it needs bleeding anymore. We've come back to it now after about 15-20 minutes, and we've put the covers on, and we notice the header tank has dropped down very, very slightly. Nothing really. We've kept some pre-mix ready to top it up if we need to, which is a 50-50 mix, which we have left over. The gurgling has completely stopped. We've put the cushions back down. We've turned the motor back down to a reasonable level of number 2. Just remove that cover and have a quick look. There you go, it's down there. The motor is buzzing away, nice and quiet, can hardly hear it. There's no more gurgling, so that's fine. Put this back on. We've checked for leaks, we've checked for any air, or there's no air left in the system. It all appears to be been removed by the circulation pump and a little bit of bleeding. So we put all the cushions back to normal. There we go, so all the cushions back, so we're ready to go. One thing we must do before we pack up is go back to the heating control and scroll through, and settings, go down, circulation pump. We've got it set on continuous now, so we need to put it back to normal. Back again, and back to the main menu. That's okay. It's showing a temperature of 15 degrees at the moment. Okay, so all in all, pretty good job, pretty pleased. Still bubbling away a little bit, not bubbling, a bit of movement, that's on the header tank. It will settle down. So we've checked everything else. We've got no leaks, no spillages, no mess, completely clean as if we've never even been in here. It's gently getting warm now. We put the cover back on there on that one, the radiator. It's getting warm. Total cost was around about £18 for the concentrate, the G13 concentrate, and about £8 for the deionized water. We had to buy a pump which was £8, which I suppose we used the once, we'd probably never use it again. Total amount we paid was about £34. Very pleased. It took us a couple of hours really, but you know, this is a learning curve. If I did another one, I'd have all the stuff ready to go. It wasn't hard, in fact it was quite easy. Some dealers cost £200 plus to do the change with the G13. Now it's good for 5 years. We're going to keep they're all receipts to prove we've done it, but you can see the pink fluid proves it's actually been changed. We collected all the old fluid, the coolant, we've put it in the containers that the new stuff come in, and we'll take that to the nearest tip to be disposed of properly. So that's about it really. Very pleased. This is a just under 2-year-old motorhome Bailey, and now it's
the coolant is good for another 5 years. So that's it. Thank you very much.